Hi everyone, I'm back again. Hope you're well. Today I'm going to talk about preparing for an interview. The next section, which might not apply to everyone, but it's usually preparing for some supplementary tests. So that could be preparing for a numerical test, a verbal test, written test sometimes, and then either a presentation or some sort of task like that, which might not happen for you. It might just be a normal, straightforward interview, but majority of interviews these days do have a second section, which will be a short examination just so that they can test your skills in action. So as I said in some of my previous videos, when you're looking at sort of numerical, verbal or logistical testing, it's best to use practice tests that are available online. You can reuse these again and again, but it's just to get your mind thinking in that way. So it might depend on how much time you have, but doing a couple just to give yourself a little bit of a practice is always a great way forward. Second test that you might come across is a writing test. So I've been asked by a couple of companies to do a short little written summary. Now that's because I'm going for either economic analytical roles or looking at policy roles, so that is part of the job. So usually that's the thing that I forgot to say, that the tests are there because it is going to resemble the type of work that you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. So they need to see whether you can handle doing that. So when it comes to the written test, what I've done is looked at the publications that come out from the company that I'm going to be interviewing with. So if it's a policy brief, how do they write their policy briefs? What data do they look at? And a lot of them have a specific style of writing. So some people don't advocate at all flowery language in the field that I'm looking for. So it's very sort of objective language that I need to use when I'm writing answers. So saying, you know, X happened on said date and this was the effect. So just practicing it, getting used to having to write in that style. So I've done a few exercises and looked at the briefs that were coming out of those companies. So that helped me sort of prepare myself in advance. And then lastly, and usually quite uniquely, you might be asked to do a presentation. Now, presentations obviously are scary in themselves, as you may know from your past experiences. But once again, preparation is vital in this environment, especially when you don't know the person who you're going to be presenting to. Now, in this instance, I practiced in front of friends or family, because the best way to actually prepare yourself and not feel nervous when you're presenting to someone you don't know is to know the material as much as you can. Now, this is also a time-permitting exercise. You might not have that much time to prepare, but anyone will do, just so that in your head when you get there on the day, you know that you've had a go once or twice and gone through the material. And plus anyone can give you tips on your delivery, or if something doesn't make sense, so that you can change up the presentation before the actual day. So overall, that's the second section, and I think that sort of neatly breaks down into sort of 50-50, all the bases that you need to cover. Now, last but not least is questions. When they ask you at the end of the interview, do you have any questions? Yes, you do. You just need to prepare some questions to show that you're inquisitive, because at the end of the day, those interviewers have given up their time to see you. So equally, you need to show that you're enthusiastic about the company and what they do. So just prepare some, 3 key questions that are quite meaty, is what I'd like to say, to give them a good chance to speak about themselves, because they will also be enthusiastic about selling the company to you. So I think that's something that we always forget in an interview. It's not only you being interviewed by the company, but it's also you interviewing them in your little own way to see whether the company actually fits what you want to do. It might not want to. There we go. That's my tips on interviewing. Hopefully they are useful, but don't forget to subscribe to the channel for all our other videos. Bye for now.